We're joined now by Sigrid McCauley. She is an attorney for the Epstein survivors. Sigrid, thank you for being with us here today. I would love to pick up the conversation with you where it was left off earlier this week. I had Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna on the show. She said to me that there is evidence, there is testimony, that Jeffrey Epstein was connected to foreign intelligence. I asked her where she got that information, and she said to me, from the attorneys for victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Are you one of those attorneys? Is that something that you have heard about Jeffrey Epstein?
I am one of the victims' attorneys, and we have heard that over the years that he had connections to foreign intelligence. I think we're going to learn a lot with the release of these documents that the survivors have been waiting for so long.
So, Sigrid, my follow-up question to the Congresswoman was, well, how does the victim's attorney know that? Now, I appreciate that you have some inside information and that you went to law school and that you perhaps have even done some discovery, that you have done your own investigation. So I appreciate your access to information, but I had to follow up. How would you know that information? And the information that Luna suggested you might have is stuff that has been said by Epstein's bodyguard.
Well, there's been a wealth of information in these cases. We've been working on these cases for over a decade. Not only my firm, Boies Schiller, but many other lawyers have worked on these cases. And so in the collection of all of that information, we've learned a number of things. And what you will come to learn when the information is finally disclosed from the government is that there's a tremendous amount of information that will flow out that will connect the dots for many people.
Well, I hope that's the case. I truly do. And I don't mean this to sound like a cross-examination. It isn't, Sigrid. In fact, it's immense curiosity. I have immense curiosity about this case, a case that I feel in the public sphere has been handled at best at a very shallow level, and it needs a deep dive conversation. And I share your hope that these documents are not redacted and we can help get to the actual truth when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. But here is one other curiosity that I have. You represent, I don't know how many of the victims. In some sense, why do we have to wait for the documents? Aren't your clients capable of providing the names of some of the people who might have patronized Jeffrey Epstein, some of the offenders?
That's certainly the case, that many of these survivors have information about what they saw, who was there, that kind of information. I mean, the real issue is putting them at risk as individuals. Obviously, by saying things publicly, they subject themselves to potential lawsuits by billionaires and other politicians and people, and they subject themselves as survivors to attack. That shouldn't happen. It should be the government who's investigating. It should be the government who's disclosing this information that they have, that they hold. This should not be the burden of the survivors.
So I want to be clear that I understand. So I would presume your clients have provided that information to some law enforcement agency, some investigator with some authority. But what you're telling me is they're reluctant to share that very same information publicly because of backlash from the, I'm hesitant to use the word accused, but names associated with Jeffrey Epstein, whether or not that's what, a lawsuit or physical harm?
Both, actually. There are incredibly dangerous people who associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and so the survivors have legitimate physical concerns. They also have concerns over being sued, being held out in the public in a way that they aren't enrolled in. So there's a number of concerns that those survivors have. And again, many of these survivors gave testimony to the federal government, to the Department of Justice. And so those records are available in that form.
Okay, so it's not that information is being hidden. It's just that they don't want their faces and their voices out front with that information. They provided it already out there, and so it needs to be before the public.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. I mean, that is what the fight has been about, disclosing all of the information, the transparency that these survivors have been requesting. So the government holds the key to that. And what we saw earlier this week was a wild success of these survivors coming together and having both the House and the Senate vote in their favor for this disclosure.
Okay, one last question, Sigrid, just having to follow my own very, very deep curiosity on this. Of course, I think the big story is to learn more about Jeffrey Epstein, how he walked through life, the golden brick road that he seemed to walk, not just through the justice system, but through most of his life throughout the world, professional and personal. But there is also the story of the names of the other offenders, the people that were involved in this case. And there are names out there. There are names. Now, not all of them are guilty, and that is seeming to be the concern of some politicians Americans who want to be careful with the names. What I'm curious about from you, because you've seen more than any of us, is are there a lot of other names that we haven't discussed, names that are not innocent, who are not yet out there, that need to be out there?
Well, of course, there are a number of individuals that were part of this. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein did this for over 3 decades. The Department of Justice has said over 1,000 survivors of 1,000 women were affected by this. So this is a significant sex trafficking operation, one of the longest running ones in history. So you can imagine in those files, there's a tremendous amount of information, including a number of individuals who either participated in this or helped facilitate these crimes.
I have been wrapped because I'm so well over time, but I can't help it because I'm just so curious. One more question, Sigrid. How many victims need to be protected? How many victims are out there on the record? How many victims are a part of this case?
As Department of Justice has said, there's over 1,000. In our cases against the financial institutions, we had hundreds. So unfortunately, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and the other co-conspirators hurt many, many young lives. It's actually atrocious. So we're hoping that the disclosure of this information will not only bring more justice to those survivors, but also some closure.
I feel like I could have this conversation with you over the entirety of the next hour. And what I hope that means is that we're not done together, that we can talk a little more as this case unfolds and we continue to get to the truth. Sigrid McCauley, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.